Hello, I'm Edward October. Over the years, I've narrated more ghost stories, horror shows, and creepypastas than I can count. And yet, the crimes discussed on our true crime podcast managed to scare the shit out of me. This program is not suitable for children or the faint of heart. If you are such a person, go ahead and switch off this podcast. Listen to something else. Are you still with us? Well, we've warned you.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, Cam, how are you?
I'm pretty darn good. How are you?
I'm great.
You are great?
I am great, yes.
Happy summer.
Happy
Yesterday
summer.
was the first day of summer.
Well, not that we're recording, yeah.
Well,
that we're recording. By the time this comes out,
wow, how was that 4th of July?
Exactly. Woo! And we're so close to our 5th anniversary, too. Mm-hmm. So
yes,
next week will be our 5th anniversary, so go us.
And
but in the
said
meantime,
we sucked and we'd never make it past episode 2.
I know. We're bound and determined.
And here we are, what is this, episode 219? Something like that, give or take? Probably
but
more.
we have all those episodes
Extras,
of Christmas episodes and stuff. Yeah, we're pushing close to 300. Anyway, what do you have for us today?
I got a little death, a little murder, a little mayhem. Yeah, pretty much the same. You ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so today we are going to the great state of Michigan, Detroit, to be exact. It's Saturday morning, December 10th, 1994, when a phone call comes from a fancy downtown hotel called the Atheneum. A hotel guest named Roberta Amos is found dead in the bed, and her husband discovers his wife's lifeless body and calls police. Now, police arrive and they ask the 51-year-old Lowell Amos, who goes by Ed, to recount the hours leading up to this incident when he woke up and discovered his 37-year-old wife dead. Lowell said the previous night the couple attended a holiday party that was being thrown by his employer, who had booked several hotel rooms for the attendees to stay in. Ed said the couple were having a great time and drinking lots of bubbly when his wife, who goes by Bobbie, started whispering sweet nothings in his ear. She wanted to go make the party, let's say, a little bit smaller. She wanted to go upstairs, just have the two of them. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Want to go with a little private time? So the two politely excuse themselves, and they go to the room for a little lovin'. Now, Ed tells the detectives that the couple enjoyed their love life and often brought toys into the bedroom. Now, when asked if this was the end of the night for them, Ed said that after the couple mussed around, then they went to a fellow employee's room for some after-party fun. The man was named Bert Crabtree, and he was having a little party in his hotel room, and the couple decided to, swing by and join in. They stayed in his room till around 4:30 a.m. and then came back to their room and fell asleep. When Ed woke up, his wife was dead next to him. Police collect things in the room, and, obviously they're hoping there's going to be some evidence. One such item is the sheet on the bed, which appeared to have a large, clear stain on it. Since there seemed to be no visible injuries to Bobbie, they're hoping that this may lead to some answers. In order to get a better look into Bobbie, they need some background information on her. Ed tells the detectives that he met her about 5 years earlier when they both worked together in Anderson, Indiana, at a manufacturing plant. At this point in time, both Ed and Bobbie are single parents and their chemistry was immediate. When the handsome executive, 14 years older than Bobbie, asks her out, she agrees. The two fall in love deeply and get married in 1993. Soon after, Ed takes a leap of faith. He decided to start a new financial consulting company located in Detroit. At this point, he's going to travel between Anderson and Detroit, leaving his wife behind in Anderson.
So just does he leave for an entire week?
Right? Yeah, commutes back and forth, but
Oh, commutes back and forth every day or commutes?
No, like weekly. He'll go
okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Comes home for the weekends, yeah.
Yeah. The two seemed to be getting along well, and there was no glaring issues in their marriage. When police ask if there's anything he can add to help, he becomes nervous. He then tells investigators the champagne was not the only thing they consumed on their night of partying. It seemed like the couple liked a little snow, a little nose candy, if you will. A little booger sugar. However, Bobbie had a sinus issue that prevented her from snorting the cocaine. And, generally, not always, but that's a lot of times how that drug is ingested via the nose. Well, this is something else. Ed tells detectives that Bobbie would use one of those play toys, that she brought in her bag of fun, dip it in the cocaine, and insert it inside herself.
Oh, okay.
Police believe that they now can rule Bobbie's death an overdose, but they want to test the coke. Ed said he threw it all out.
Oh.
Really?
That's suspicious, Ed. Yeah, very suspicious. It's expensive, and you
it's just a little
or
weird.
so I've heard, and you just throw it out. Okay.
The detectives send Ed home. So now they need to, do their little circle of trust, if you will. And they break out. They need to talk to those people that are closest to Ed and Bobbie. Next up is Bert Crabtree, the fellow that had that party. And he verifies that Ed and Bobbie were in his room till around 4:30 in the morning. Bert then adds a little tiny detail. He said nearly 5 hours later, after, leaving his room at 4:30 in the morning, his hotel room phone rang. Not wanting to be bothered, he didn't answer it, nor did he answer it on the second time. Finally, on the third attempt to try to get to him, Bert picked up the phone, and on the other end of the line is a frantic Ed Amos, spouting something about his wife, but it was hard to make out. Bert told him to calm down. I will be there in a minute. Just calm down. Stay put. Calm down. I'll be there. When Bert arrives at Ed's room, he is shuffled inside by a very upset Ed Amos. Now remember, at this point, he knows something's up with Bobbie, but he has no idea what. Ed Amos can barely get the sentence out. Bobbie is dead. What? So they call 911, but they know it's too late. Detective Pat Hinahan is assigned to the case, and he starts out with those closest to the couple. Mary Zellinger is brought in, and she knows Ed quite well. As in, really well, Jen. As in, really, really well. She's his girlfriend.
Oh.
Yes.
Didn't see that happening.
No, you didn't. Well, you did, because as we go along, you're going to see this. Mary tells them that the couple would go for drinks after work, and then one thing led to another, and, they started dating. Now, at this time, Ed was dating Bobbie back in Indiana, but they had not married yet. So he was dating Mary in Detroit and Bobbie in Indiana. Not married to either at this point. So when Ed is in one state, he dated Bobbie, and when he came to the other state, he dated Mary. Things were going well for all parties. Well, most of the parties. Ed, that is. Fast forward about 4 years, when one day Mary's in the closet and looking through some of his dry cleaning, and she notices a receipt. And on that receipt was a name. Bobbie Amos. What? It feels like a dagger to her heart as she realized Ed is married. He never told her that. They went, he was dating both of them and then ended up marrying Bobbie, but he kept dating Mary. Furious, Mary confronts Ed. Ed claims he's going to tell her, and yes, he is married, but you know what's coming out of his mouth next, Jen? We're married, but, we're getting a divorce. We're going to get a divorce. Yeah, sure they are.
Or we're separated.
Yeah, we're separated. I don't love her. Whatever. Mary kicks him out and then places a phone call to Bobbie Amos to let her know that her man has been cheating on her. That's pretty bold, I gotta tell you.
Very bold, but it's probably welcoming. I mean, I think that
would be... is, until just 5 days later, Bobbie is found dead.
Yeah.
This accidental overdose is looking a little suspect at this point. It's just a few days later when a phone call comes into the detective bureau from Indiana. The caller asked the detective if he was working on the Bobbie Amos case. And when the detective said yes, the caller tells the investigator that, hey, you know what? This exact same thing happened here before. That's right. Caller was Detective Mike Williams from the Anderson PD.
The same crime? Like the same death?
Oh, yeah, and we're going to explain that, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Different person, but same scenario.
Well, obviously. I mean, you can't die twice,
you never know.
Really.
This is a podcast, man. People fake their deaths. You just never know. Things still surprise me, let me say. The next day, both teams meet up to compare notes, and boy, do they learn a lot. First up, they knew that Bobbie wasn't Ed's first wife. They knew that she was his second. Oh, wait, nope. She's his third. She's his third wife. That's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was in 1970 that Ed and his wife of 13 years, Sandra, were living in Anderson with their children. Ed was making a great salary as a foreman at a local auto manufacturing plant. In 1978, Ed decides to run for mayor. He's, making the best of his life there. And seems all is going well for the couple. That is, until January 24th, 1979, and everything changed. As the couple were getting ready to turn in for the night, Ed goes to the bedroom to find Sandra collapsed on the ground. It was too late. She was gone. The authorities believed she must have fallen or had some sort of medical emergency, perhaps her head. No autopsy was performed. Due to the shock of it all, Ed decides to put the brakes on his mayoral run and focuses on getting back to normal. Just months later, he meets a 36-year-old single mother by the name of Carolyn Lawrence. Carolyn had met Ed when she started working at the auto plant. Ed proposed to Carolyn just a bit over a year since Sandra had died. The couple were thrilled about starting a new life together, and they moved to nearby Middletown. Everything was great in paradise, until it wasn't. Ed loved to spend money, and lots of it, lots and lots and lots of it. Fancy cars, fancy jewelries, Rolexes, fancy trips. He liked all the finer things in life, but the problem is, even though he made good money, he did not make that good of money. Finally, unable to deal with it, Carolyn asked Ed to move out after 8 years together. With nowhere else to go, Ed is forced to move back to Anderson and live with his mother, 77-year-old Mary Tolles. On July 26, 1998, tragedy strikes yet again, Jen.
Mom goes.
Yeah, Ed called Carolyn. He's devastated. He's frantic. And he said he just found his mother dead in her bed.
Cocaine overdose?
No. No.
Okay.
He's crying. He begs Carolyn to come and get him. Come take him back. Carolyn invited him to come back to her. It's just what Ed wanted. His loving wife back. Oh, and a big paycheck from his mother's estate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking big. All things are right in their world, again, until April 6th. Carolyn and Ed have a friend over for a few drinks. After a bit of fun, Carolyn excuses herself to go to bed while the gentlemen carry on with the festivities. When Ed goes to check on her a few hours later, Carolyn is lying on the floor and looks to have been electrocuted.
Oh.
Responders try to save her, but it was too late. What's that old saying, Jen? Once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, 3 times
is suspicious.
Mm-hmm. So it's 4 times. I'd say definitely suspicious. That's where I'd put suspicious on that 4th time, because here we go. The investigators are learning all that they can about Ed and how come so many deaths have happened around him. The autopsy on Bobbie comes back. They learn that she did die from an overdose of cocaine, a lot of cocaine, as in 3.7 blood cocaine level. An average amount to cause an overdose would be 2.5 blood cocaine level. So she's around 10 times, give or take, the amount to OD yourself. But the shocking part is how the drug was administered. Not up the nose or through the lungs. Nope, it was vaginally. Investigators also know that there is no way she could have administered this high amount to herself, because the high amount that she was putting in her body would have killed her before she could reach this level. So she would have passed out long before getting to the point. Seems Ed has some splaining to do, Jen, but they want to make sure that all their ducks are in a row. So they want to re-talk to those friends and, see if there's anything else that maybe they didn't share earlier, or maybe they quote unquote forgot, So they bring in Bert Crabtree, and he comes into the station and, he's kind of fidgety. He's a little nervous, and he confesses that on that night that he went down there, Ed asked him to hold or take something from the hotel room for him. Mm-hmm.
And he did it?
Yes, it was like a little toiletry bag. Mm. He did. He took it. And Ed said, I'll come back and get it. But just like, I guess Bert's a little bit like me and you, Jen, because, he's a little nosy. And the minute he could get out of his eyesight, he opened up that bag, and guess what's in there? A large syringe. Syringe. No needle, just a syringe, something that you would rinse out a wound with. The following day, Ed went and picked up that bag of things from Bert. Initially, Ed had told investigators that Bobbie was unable to snort cocaine because of her sinus issue, and that she often put cocaine on her marital aid toy, and that is how the drugs got into the system. Police knew this was not true because they collected all the things in the hotel room, and no toys tested positive for cocaine. He's not very smart. Detectives now believe that Ed gave her something to... Wait, let me say.
Yeah, it's obvious that he's never watched Forensic Files. That's all I'm going to say.
Come on. And this is his 4th one, Jen. Come on. Detectives now believe that Ed, he wanted to get something out of this, so they need to figure all this out. They believe that when she passed out, Ed used the syringe to empty the drugs into her vagina, which has killed her. I think we pretty much can all conclude that. Mm-hmm. Now they need to look into all the deaths surrounding Ed and see how they all connect. They learned that Carolyn had a high amount of Valium in her system at the time of death. They also learned that Sandra had a high amount of Valium in her system at time of death. It's now becoming pretty clear that Ed Amos is a serial killer who kills ones he is supposed to love. For what? That's right, insurance money. In 1979, when Sandra died, Ed received $350,000. With the death of his mother, he received a huge payout, $1.7 million.
Wow.
Now, you'd think this would last him a little while, Jen, right? I mean, that's quite a lot of money.
Not if he's Mr. Spendy.
That's right. He goes through it in just under 9 months. When Carolyn dies, he gets $500,000. That is a lot of money. So they believe that Bobbie found out about Mary because Mary called and said, hey, your husband's been cheating on me, and I'm so sorry. He was married. I had no idea. Well, Bobbie's furious, of course. Now, he can't take the chance that Bobbie's going to leave him. Because if she leaves him, that life insurance policy walks out the door with her. Right. So instead, he kills her and gets it. It's all about the money with Ed Amos.
Always about the money.
Amos was arrested for the murder of his third wife, Bobbie. Prosecutors would argue that Ed needed the money and that Bobbie was already moving on with her life, since she'd told friends and family that, he's out of here. I'm done with him. I'm done with this. He's been lying to me. So much so, she even purchased a house, and she was getting ready to move in it. Well, obviously, that's just not going to fly with him. Investigators believe that on the evening she died, Ed fed her sedatives and some wine. After passing out, he made a solution of cocaine and water and injected it into her vagina. When she began to struggle, he used a pillow to suffocate her. That spot that was on the sheet was the, how would you say that? It's the liquid that came out, and didn't stay inside of her, making that stain on the sheet. Remember they collected that?
So it was a mixture of cocaine and
water
coming
out of her. On October 24th, 1996, he was convicted of premeditated murder and murder using a toxic substance. Both are considered first-degree murder. On November 4th, 1996, he was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. He would never face charges on any of the other deaths. Ed Amos died in prison on January 5th, 2022, one day after turning 29 years old.
Wow.
That is short, man. 20 minutes. Sorry. So, yeah, I kind of got to say, I think it's kind of weird that, nobody put that together for death, and they're all kind of strange.
But did he move at all?
Well, just between Anderson and Detroit, but getting married,
You would, and maybe, his mother was the only relative? I mean, you would think somebody would have.
But she's 77.
Thought it was weird.
Why would he even hurt her?
The money. I mean,
but she's 77. It's not like she's 17, he's going to get it.
But if he needs the money ASAP, I mean, he was getting used to spending all this money anyway, and he probably had the debts were being called on. You know what I mean? We were going to need you to pay this.
I just think it's so strange too. And then he knows he killed her, and then he continued to lie in bed with her for hours. She's dead next to him.
Do you think he really did that, or I don't think he did.
You think he just sat up, waited?
I don't think he was even in bed with her. I think he just probably went elsewhere for a while and then
I don't know.
Let it happen and then wait it out somewhere. I'm not necessarily sure that he laid in bed with her. I mean, that's a different kind of creep there.
Well, we've met a lot of creeps on this podcast, let me tell you. Wouldn't surprise me. But also, to come up with that thought, I wonder if they had done cocaine with their friends earlier so that the friends knew that she couldn't snort cocaine or sniff cocaine. And so, I mean, what a weird way to, I don't know.
Was that even true?
That he did that? I don't know. That's why I'm wondering, because I would think that would be really bizarre. I mean, let's be honest. I know you pretty well. And if I would be like, Jen would never do that.
First of all, me dying of a cocaine overdose is laughable because I've never even been around it except, you know what I mean? Well, I doubt if they put that in the paper, she died after ODing on cocaine vaginally.
Secrets that they keep,
Yeah, I think the police would hold that back. But I mean, it would be surprising if you would find out if either of us died of a cocaine overdose. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Totally. Just bizarre. So that is the story of Lowell Amos. And he's not a nice person.
Poor Bobbie. Poor all of his ex-wives. What a horrible...
Bobbie almost escaped, too. Look at that. You know? And I'm sure he smoothed her like, hey, we're going to go to this holiday party. It's going to be great. It's going to be so much fun.
I mean, I like money. I mean, okay, I love money. But I couldn't
And he
do
killed
that
his
for money.
mother. His own mother. What?
Get another job. DoorDash is always hiring.
They
You know what I
are.
mean? So I don't.
So anyway,
I
that's
don't get
that story.
I'm
I'm telling you, Jen. People we meet on this podcast, I just don't even know what to say. Like,
I know.
I always think something's not. Wait till you hear the one I got coming up. I always think nothing's going to shock me. This one, next, it's going to air in 2 weeks. It's
in 2 weeks, yeah, yep, 2 weeks.
I don't even know what to say. Like it's
a humdinger is what you're going to say.
It's even worse than that. It's terribly graphic, but yeah. And
cool.
I remember I told you it's nightmare fuel. It is definitely nightmare fuel. This is the stuff that you think would never happen, and then you hear it, and you're like, that can't be true. And it's true. So, yeah.
So what have you been watching?
So I was let's see, what have I been watching? Okay, I got into Don't Make Fun of Me, Jen. I know you're going to make fun of me. I don't even want to hear it. Emergency room shows, because I've been through all my murder shows.
That's all you need is because you're kind of paranoid about stuff like that
all
anyway.
And
yeah, so now, it's going to be nice.
I think I should have been a doctor or a nurse. Okay,
no.
I'm not that smart, but I just like, it doesn't gross me out like I like it. I was like, ooh, I would love to stitch up a stitch. I would love that. Another thing I watched is an Australian show. I just started this yesterday. I think it's pretty good. It's entertaining. It's called Deadlock, as in Dead Lake. But like on the show, they go Deadlock Lake. So it's like Dead Lake, which I think is funny. But it's a British show and it's a little murder mystery. But
it's British or Australian?
I'm sorry, Australian. It's Australian. For beer. But there's the detective in there is, let's say, a little rough around the edges. So she makes me laugh because she's just like, she's funny. That's all I'm going to say about that. So you check that. That's on Prime. Amazon Prime is free. And it's just kind of cute.
Who's in it? Any names that we know?
Yeah, no. They're all Australian actors. Nobody we know. Let's see. What else? I'm looking at my phone. What about
no one you and I know.
Well, no. Yeah, but the Australians, they probably do. Like I watched Hot Fuzz the other day with, right? And like all those British actors, I knew them. I don't know them by name, but I knew all of them because they're huge. So it might be the same with those guys down there.
You watched Based on a True Story.
I did. I like that. But you know what? I didn't realize that last episode was the last episode. So I came home and I was like, okay. And then I'm like, what? I don't like how it ended.
Well, like, I'm sure it's going to be optioned for season 2.
I'm sure. But it just annoyed me.
Yeah.
And that British actor, the serial killer, is kind of handsome. Like cutie pie.
He's very handsome.
What have you been watching?
Not much. We just got back from vacation, and like we said, we've recorded these earlier. So when you're listening to this, Cam is in the UK, but I just got back from vacation at Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and it was amazing. I unfortunately did not get to meet up with Dolly like she said we would. No, that's a lie. She never promised. But yeah, we had a great time. We stayed up in a cabin, which supposedly had internet access, and it really didn't. So I have been without TV for a while, so I haven't watched anything.
Wow, are you?
But I did get to catch up on my reading.
Are you okay? Are you having like
I'm
TikTok? You told me you missed the TT.
I did miss the TikTok because that's a good no-brainer thing to just kind of watch and not really think about anything. But I did catch up on my reading, and I had a great time. I'm glad. It was a nice, relaxing vacation. It was awesome.
Good. Well, good.
My kids went whitewater rafting. I didn't because I knew if we capsized like the boat that was in front of them did, that I would never be able to pull myself back into the raft. No, I wouldn't.
Got you. Yeah, you would.
I have no arm strength whatsoever. I couldn't do it. But I don't care. It would be humiliating for me. And then they also went.
I'll just meet you at the end. I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna swim this part out. I'm just gonna go ahead and swim down there.
I'll walk back. It's fine. But just leave me. That's fine. And then they also went ziplining, which with my height thing, no, would never do it. The one that they were going to go on was so high, even my husband said, yeah, we're going to find another one. Because it's like you're going in the mountains and you zipline down. But no, everybody had a blast.
Until I was older. Now I'm scared of them.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's because we know if we fall and break our hip, it's over.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like it.
But no, it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. We went to the Crime Museum, which was very interesting. Very cool. I'd suggest to go see it if you're there.
I was there, but we didn't do that.
Yeah. Was it open when you were there?
I don't know. They didn't really want to do anything. So there's that.
I couldn't understand you.
I know. I whispered on purpose. I said they didn't really want to do anything. So there's that. It wasn't. It wasn't. It was the people I was with. See, so they didn't.
Gotcha.
They liked to
Dollywood was fine. Dollywood was fun. The family had a fun time riding the roller coasters and stuff. I had a fun time holding their phones while they rode the roller coasters because I get
what moms do. That's what moms do.
But it was good. We had a great time. And while we are talking now, you are jaunting all over the UK. So,
yep. Well, not just the UK. I'm jaunting all over Europe, pretty much. So, yeah.
There you go.
6 countries in 20 days, and you're
going to be exhausted when you come back.
I'm going to be so tired. I'm so tired. But hey, that's okay. It's all about the experience, if you will.
It's all good. Yeah.
Remember, lock your doors.
And keep passing by those open windows.
Bye-bye.
Love ya.
Today's episode was researched and written by me, Cam. For more information about this episode, as well as all the sources I used, please check out our show notes or the podcast website at ourtruecrimepodcast.com. Our True Crime Podcast is developed and created by hosts Jen and Cam. Original music and audio mix of all our True Crime Podcast episodes is courtesy of Nico Vertesi from We Talk of Dreams. Listener discretion is provided by Edward October from October Pod VHS. Our True Crime Podcast is executive produced by Nico Vertesi and Dick Vane. Make sure to like and subscribe to Our True Crime Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. We can be reached on Instagram and Facebook at Our True Crime Podcast or on Twitter at Our True Crime Pod. You can email us at ourtruecrimepodcast@gmail.com. If you really like the show, make sure to check out our Patreon at Our True Crime Podcast. Our True Crime Podcast is an OTC production.